Often the problem in mixing on headphones is that when we finally play our song back to a friend on speakers, it sounds off. It doesn't sound like what we had in our head, and it just sounds thin and two-dimensional. Mixing entirely on headphones is probably not the best idea, but that being said, mixing on headphones isn't all bad. The key to getting great productions when using headphones comes down to great headphone habits, which is what I want to talk about today. What is up, guys? Alex from ANAK Creates here. Welcome back to another video. Today, I want to talk to you about some good headphone habits to use and some things to keep in mind and be aware of. First, briefly, some pros and cons of using headphones, then we'll dive into some good headphone practices and things to keep in mind. One of the most obvious benefits of using headphones is it allows you to create literally anywhere, and it also allows you to bring a constant listening environment with you no matter where you are. Headphones, like speakers, are a listening environment that you really get to know, and the more deeply you understand how it's affecting the sound that you're listening to, the more confidence you can have in what you're hearing and take advantage of that. Something that most people don't think about is that you're bringing a constant listening environment that you can trust no matter where you are, even if you're in other studios. Using this to your advantage, it can help you calibrate yourself to a new room or a new set of speakers in a different studio that you're not as familiar with, no matter where that is. There are downsides to using headphones as well. The biggest is it's so easy for your ears to get fatigued and for you to lose perspective on what you're doing. Make sure you are checking your mixes outside of your headphones on speakers to just make sure you understand how they're sitting. When it comes to picking the right headphones, there are just so many options out there, and frankly, this could be a whole video on its own. Right now, I'm not going to give you a list of headphones that I would recommend. There are a million different options, and it really depends on what the features are that you would like, what recommendations you've heard of, and what sonic qualities you're looking for. But the biggest thing that comes down to is not which headphones you choose, it's that you put the time in and dedicate yourself to learning those headphones inside out. Amazing mixers can make amazing sounding mixes on second-rate monitors once they get to know them. There's no magic headphone that's gonna make your mixes sound amazing. You just have to really understand the headphones that you're using. Now, picking headphones that are designed for studio use, typically they have a flatter frequency response and just a more wide-ranging frequency response. That would be much better than using more consumer-focused brands that have a lot of sound manipulation and hype built into them. That doesn't really help for making mix decisions because everything already sounds better than it actually does. Personally, I use Sennheiser 550s for my mixing headphones, and while they sound good, I also pair them with SonarWorks for headphones to get the flattest frequency response possible. Now, are they the most expensive and best headphones out there? No, but I know them very well, which makes them ideal for me. So here are a few headphone habits and things to keep in mind when using your headphones for mixing and production. Keep your headphones at a consistent level. Learn what's a good level for the headphones that you're using so that you can actually hear everything, but it's not too loud. It's very easy to slowly keep bumping up the level of your headphones the longer you work, which does two different things. First, it changes the perspective of what you're hearing. Louder things typically sound better to us, but we also perceive frequencies differently at different levels. And second, the more we bump it up, the more fatigued our ears get, and it can lead to lasting hearing damage if we do this too often. Number 2, take breaks. If you notice yourself wanting to bump up the level of your headphones, it's probably a good time to take a break. Even a 5-minute break can really help reset your perspective on the mix that you're working on, but also your ears. It's also very important on headphones to not work for as much of an extended period of time. You can get away with this a little more on speakers, but on headphones, your ears get fatigued a lot faster than they do in speakers. Number 3, check your work on speakers. Even if it's not the ideal treated room, it's still a very good idea to check your work on speakers periodically. Even if you do 80 or 90% of the mix on headphones, just a few quick checks on speakers can really help your mix. Doing a quick check on speakers can help you get a different perspective on things like panning, overall level balance, overall frequency response over your whole mix, and can just bring to light a few things that you wouldn't have noticed on headphones. Number 4, be aware of the low end. Low end is very different when it comes to headphones. We don't feel the low end around us in the room, having the low end of the speakers rattle things. And low end is just much less perceived because of that and because of the distance between the speakers and our ears. The low end waveforms just don't have time to develop. So the low end is typically not what we perceive in headphones. Now, this doesn't have to be a problem. It's just something you need to be aware of so you don't overcompensate on the low end because you're just not hearing it in your headphones. Number 5, be aware of panning. When you're listening on speakers, your right ear does hear the left speaker. It's just just slightly delayed and is filtered out a little bit because of your head that's in the way. This is part of how our brain determines where something is around us. When doing panning in headphones, because we don't have that crosstalk between the opposite speaker and the ear, sometimes panning can get a little bit fuzzy. Either it's all the way on one side and it's directly in your ear, or it's in the center, but besides that, it can sometimes get a little unclear, and it's just something to be aware of that's very different from mixing on speakers. Number 6, use reference mixes. Now, I've made a whole video on using reference mixes, so I'll just link that up here and in the description below, so go check that out. But using reference mixes to recenter yourself around what your headphones are doing and where your mix should be sitting is very, very helpful. And number 7, use visualizers. Using frequency scopes and panning scopes can really help when you're using headphones. I typically like to double check them when I'm using speakers so that I have a bit of a reference. If something's looking a little weird, I just know to hone in and double check it. The more you use your headphones to mix, the more you'll understand what's actually happening versus what you're seeing. But it's a nice double check to just make sure that something's not out of place that you're just not hearing. So to wrap up, basically the most important things are: have headphones that you trust, be aware of the level that you're mixing at, and try and stay as consistent as possible so that you don't hurt your perspective or your ears. Take frequent breaks and don't work for as extended periods of time to give your ears a little bit of a rest. And don't do your mixing 100% on headphones. Double check on speakers as much as possible to just verify a few things. So hopefully that helps you get the most out of your headphones and allows you to confidently embrace being able to create with headphones anywhere and everywhere. But that is it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below if you have another tip about using headphones that you like to live by just to get the most out of your headphones. I will see you in the next video. Until then, always be creating.